And welcome back to the Off the Clock Show. Joined again with Shawn Gervais from OrbisX CRM and Marshall Hill from Pints and Polishing Podcast, as well as hyperClean Car Care Products and Stack. That's it. And if
Been a
you,
great this is a great launch, man.
yeah, right
Really
on,
great
man.
launch. Yeah, we had
It's
a
always
great
the
launch. It
best,
was a
man.
blast. It's
Yeah,
always fun doing a launch, and then when it goes so much that we got behind so much. Like
damn. Yeah,
we had
yeah.
some, well, I call it in our post there's post meetings where like you do like post game
Oh, yeah, like the
tape,
post wrap up or
like
whatever. Yeah.
yeah, like I like doing stuff like that, right? Like really analyze. I so my basically my theory of our performance was, well, we pressurize the system.
Mm.
Like we could see where the leaks are.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we were right in, fixing on some stuff, moving some things around, getting everything redone. Like
Beautiful.
we know where we need to make some changes, and got a new downfill unit in today.
Hey,
Super
hey.
fun.
That's
That was
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So a new product that we changed, got the first flow through the new system. But yeah, it's awesome. Now we can downfill 6 bottles at a time,
Oh,
and
that's
then move one
amazing.
over, put one, and then that one gets the
Yeah,
label, and it
yeah.
goes over, and it's like, hey, here we go.
Yeah. Man, I'm
Starting to
always
do this thing
fascinated
called
about that kind of stuff.
manufacturing.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like building, like manufacturing, it's always
Mhm.
fascinating to me because you start with, it's like starting a business, anything, you start with like the roughest process and then you
Mhm.
slowly refine it, add things, and man, it's so cool. You see some of those shows like how it's made and stuff like that, and it's just wild, man. Like the machinery that they've had to make to do shit, So that's cool, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and you got some brands that it's great to see the way they do it, and they've got these real high tech, machines and these conveyors and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, we'll get there,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
get there,
Yeah.
but we'll start here. We'll
Yeah,
start here,
absolutely, man. Handcrafted. Let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%. Man,
So
it's all
we've
it's
got a line now with our blending line that goes in our. We're gonna stay in our drums. I've been a drum blender for,
okay.
well, since I've been doing this. So we're not gonna go to totes yet. We're gonna stay in drums and drum blend straight from our drum, and then we'll use a pump to pump over into this downfill. And it's cool. It's got this big unit on it that same as a plunger as a toilet, right? So you stick your pump
Yeah,
hose up to the bottom, and it pumps until it fills, and then it's got a little plunger and turns it off. And we got 6 nozzles that comes down and
man.
right over into the labeler, and then it goes onto
Yeah,
the
yeah.
shelf or into the boxes for the distributors. We try and keep our distributor boxes pre-made with the case quantities. So we even try and get distributor orders. Sometimes it's happened. We've gotten it palleted and then picked up the same day.
That's
So
amazing.
it
Damn.
is, it
Yeah,
is. And
yeah.
then the guy was in Kansas City and he got his order the very next day.
That's wild,
So
man.
place
What a
a pallet
satisfying
order.
feeling too,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they received it the next day. It's like, so.
Jeez, yeah. And like the magic that went into that, Like
Mhm.
you got to think there's so many products you see on a shelf or something, and you have like the journey that thing went through. Like it's just wild.
Yeah.
So each of those bottles, like it's like they each have a story, It was like it was Tuesday, it was sunny, it's got like a whole backstory, man. That's wicked though. Yeah, yeah. Hey, do you guys like batch number them or something? Like how like wines and stuff they'll put, something in a little signature. That'd be kind of
Hmm.
or like handcrafted at XY facility,
That would be cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. See, there you go. Little tip for Marshall. There we go.
So when we'll do another label redesign, probably later in the year or something like that. And that's one of the things we've talked about is going ahead and barcoding them, getting a barcoding
Nice.
system set up, and just pre-putting them
Yeah.
already into the label. And
I'm sure you've already thought of this too, but like your videos that you guys are shooting,
you
for
can
sure.
do,
Like a QR thing, it goes.
QR code to the video. Yep,
Boom. There we go.
absolutely.
See, you and I have talked about QR codes
Hmm.
numerous times. See,
Hmm.
exceptional use right there, And that's where, as people get onboarded to become distributors as well through OrbisX, that's something that they can, you know, incorporate kind of thing. Like when customers have questions and stuff, like it's just more seamless where you can pass off a lot of these things. If the customer has questions, it's like, oh yeah, there's a QR code on there, show you how to use it, how to da da da.
Hmm.
Wicked, man. See,
Absolutely. So it could go to either the YouTube video or the website, the product page,
Yeah.
and
Beauty.
then the YouTube video will be on the product page. So probably
Perfect.
straight to the product page, don't you think?
Yeah, because then you get everything in
Yeah.
one shot. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Smart.
Because then, well, then they could even buy more, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is true too. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Wait a
where I
minute.
thought you were going. I was
You
like,
mean the goal is to send
yeah.
someone somewhere so that they purchase something? That's the see, that's always the goal. Send them wherever they gotta go make a purchase. Absolutely. But man, that's crazy. It's funny. I was listening to this podcast today. I was just thinking like sometimes things happen like by accident. You just kind of fall into something. And anyway, it was going over the process of how soap was made, like thousands of years ago in Lebanon, and how there's some places that still make it that way, of course, but they've transitioned away because of liquid soaps and manufacturing and stuff.
Mhm.
But what was cool was they showed this like graph, and they said that there was the traditional soaps that were being made, and they basically like lay it out in this huge concrete building, and then it dries. It's like quite the process, and then they have to hand stamp with a hammer. It was like I think they said 3,600 bars at a time or something, hand stamping these things. It's just wild. So anyway, it's quite the process, but they're going through it, and so it was this crafted process that's lasted for a long time, and then liquid soaps took over for the sales, but then they've started to see a dip down in those sales and a resurgence of the old ones. And so the process now of how they make the traditional style is coming back, because people said that it felt nicer on their skin and that they actually prefer when it wasn't perfect. So if there was like imperfections because they're making it by hand, right? It actually had higher sales counts because of it. It was kind of interesting. So like sometimes when things are too overly manufactured, it can kind of be like and that's what made me think of those little things where it's like, you got the QR codes, you're adding in, even though it's fully manufactured, nice looking bottle, all that stuff, but then you add in that personal touch behind the
Mhm.
company. So that's
It is
cool, man.
cool, right?
That's off to that, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's wicked, man. Now,
We'll
that
get
was
there one
yeah,
day.
we did that. Absolutely, man. So you see anything interesting lately, or
Oh man, I haven't.
just
I've
start?
really, I mean, me on social media has been
Mm-hmm.
pretty non-existent. Like, I've really
Yeah.
just been so heads down focused on everything here. And, you know, I'm pretty excited
Great
about some of the new
feeling, though.
products coming out. I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited about some of the things I've created
Yeah.
and I'm excited about the day I get to talk about 'em. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Man,
cool.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it's funny.
yeah.
I've been doing the same thing. I said, okay, I got some like personal projects around the house I wanted to get done. And then I said, okay, and I also got like a bunch of stuff, obviously work wise. I said, let me take kind of a hiatus. And I tell you, man, it's weird because it's like I disappeared for a bit or just minimized my activity. But then the minute I went right back into social, it was almost like I didn't even miss any time. And I was like, did nothing interesting happen in between? Like,
So is there a tip
why?
in there? Is there a tip in there?
Yeah,
Like,
stay
I did the
focused.
same thing with, especially if you go back to Instagram, and I was on the phone with Nick when we did this together, and we pulled up some, especially because there's some brands that do this. Like if you're on Instagram and you do a great job, you can be like our ambassador, right? Like,
Mm,
so, we pulled up some of these people that had won before, and it's like, I wonder where they're at now. One of those like,
yeah, yeah.
you know, did miss a beat by not seeing these people in over a year. Like,
Jeez, that's
is that
wild.
really the exact same style video? Like, is he really
Right.
still pulling a lever and still doing this thing? Like, are we still seeing the exact
Everything's
same
still the
things?
exact
Like,
same.
is this guy still doing motivational stocks? Like, are we
Yeah.
still watching? Like, I'm out. Right. So that's what I like. To me, it wasn't a hiatus. Like, I know people do that. Like,
Mm.
need
I know
to
what you mean. Like I
need
need
to
to take a break.
cleanse social media
Yeah.
cleanse. And I'm not that guy. I guess I'm not ever been too enamored. Social media has always been to me like just a thing, right? Like
Yeah. I know what you mean. It's never been
it's
like an
another thing,
addiction thing. It
right?
was just another thing. Yeah.
Was always involved heavy when it came to do with marketing. So
Hmm.
much of what I did on social all had to do with just marketing. Even if
Yeah.
it was on my personal page and I was doing a beer click, like I did that just because I was trying to be about beer and mark. Like,
Yeah.
to me, social media, I've never really like one point in time, I guess I did did you ever get caught up in the like when Instagram first came out, posting pictures of your food? Like I did get
Oh,
caught up in that. I
oh,
did get
okay,
caught
yeah,
up in
yeah.
that. And I love to post pictures of my food at first because Instagram was only about posting a photo, and I wasn't gonna post photos of myself.
So it's like, what do I? You ever take a selfie?
Well, we all made fun. Did
Yeah,
those
yeah.
people all got made fun of at first?
It's true. It's true.
So I wasn't gonna do that. I was gonna do, and I so I did food, but
Hmm.
like even now, I just don't even. To me, I don't. I do love. I really have enjoyed more Facebook. I've gone back more to Facebook.
Yeah, it's funny, it's there's very different styles. Like my wife loves Instagram in comparison to Facebook. Me, I prefer Facebook in comparison to Instagram. But it also depends. Like if I want something just funny, like there's some I don't know if they're called channels or whatever, I guess pages, feeds, whatever that I follow on Instagram. If I got like, 10 minutes to kill in a line or something like that, I'll go check out some stuff, see if there's something funny. But primarily, I don't know. I do prefer Facebook. I think for the content, but the way it's displayed and stuff. But I don't really get lost in social media. I primarily just use it same kind of thing, like business stuff. And
Yeah,
then like even my page, my actual like personal page, I don't even know when I last posted there. 2017 maybe? 2018? Like a while back. I just don't post anything because I'm too busy. Like if you're here, you're here. Like most of the time my phone's on silent and I don't even have it with me. It's
I
a
used to
tool.
be all about that check-in life though. That was fun. When check-ins,
Oh,
when I get and it first hit, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, I'm checking in here. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
And
don't
now
know why
it's
people still check in places. Like it
it's
cracks me up.
true. The only ones I see here is when people like mark themselves safe. That's pretty much it.
Mhm.
And that's
I
it's
guess I should do that. Appreciate everybody that's reached out. We had some tornadoes came through here last night. So
damn, no way. I didn't
yeah,
even
yeah,
know.
yeah. Like some pretty bad
Holy,
damage. Just not far, just north,
no way, man. Glad you're
Wow.
safe. Holy shit. Jeez,
Me
that's
too. I
crazy.
slept like a baby.
Jesus. Yeah, yeah. That's wild. Yeah, you were telling me this is kind of like the season for it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, you sent me that video, yeah, with the siren and stuff. That's wild. Like that's like we
Hmm.
get tornadoes here, but not nearly as severe as that, but and not as frequent, but we don't have any warning system other than just like I don't know what they call it. I think it's called the environmental warning system. I don't know. We get like a text message from the government. But the problem was after they had the last tornado, major one that ripped the roof off our house, they didn't have enough notice. They sent a warning out at I think it was 5 p.m. and the tornado touched down outside of our front yard at 6:05 p.m. So it was like 1 hour, and it was just a little light wind, so we didn't think anything of it. But ever since then, they started ramping up doing tests to make sure the system worked. But the sound it makes is very unique. And we were going through like PTSD, like we just went through a tornado, ripped our like we were home, took the house off, we had to run to the basement, tree went through the window. It was a big deal. And anyway, so for like 3 months after when they were testing it, every time our phones went off, it just like triggered a part of the brain but yeah, it's pretty crazy. And yeah, anyway, it's living through those things. It's man, geez, but anyway, happy you're safe. That's the
Yeah,
most,
yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
Jesus.
Not everybody made it out, so glad
Yeah,
I am. Yeah, definitely.
damn.
So, the other thing that I would just watch on social media, that's like I sent you that video. It's funny. We talk about the migration, and I guess there was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
zebra migration, right? And it's
yeah.
I can't help but just I mean, and there was I just sent you a screenshot, but in the video, I mean, thousands of these zebras all going. I'm like,
Crazy.
I mean,
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
there's one where a gator gets it, right next to where everybody's passing. The other zebra just kind of looks down like, oh, I need to step over here.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that looks like it hurts. And like,
Yeah. And they
man,
just keep on trucking.
let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. That and I watch
Wow.
Insect Wars.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are the best.
Those
Yeah,
are
yeah.
good. Those are
Yeah.
good.
Man,
It can be gory. It can be
I'm
pretty
so
gory.
glad that I'm this
Like,
tall and this big because
right?
God, man, the
Those guys
insects
are
are gross.
crazy.
Yeah, and like some of their defense I watch the ones with
Mm-hmm.
like praying mantises and stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
spiders or like man, it's wild. Like and you're right, it's gory. It's like
It's gory. And when that like they get after it, and when they're battling, and they're like, no, I don't want this guy. Like they're like, get me out of here. I want out. I want out. Like
yeah,
whoa.
there's no tap outs. Yeah, that's
No tap outs. I mean, and the crazy ones are when they eat each other. Like they're like,
Mhm.
fuck it. Like, okay, we'll just start chomping down on each other, see who wins. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's wild. It's just like a slugfest, you
yeah,
know?
it is. It is.
It's
And then
there's a lot
starts
of
twitching and it's like,
correlation there between that and business though. Like, like there's
oh, we'll have to do that one day. Hmm.
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That's a good one
All
for
right. So my correlation today though isn't about bugs. It's about being artist.
mm,
Something that I've said is something I do believe in. I believe that detailers are artists.
mhm.
I think so. Like, I mean, we take our canvas and we change things, or we beautify them, or we protect them, whatever we want to call it. We take something, and in my opinion, we become artists with it. There becomes different problems with artists. I don't know if you've seen movies where they go to like these art shows or whatever, and there's that artist that can't believe, right? Like, I cannot believe. Like, artists get enamored sometimes, so people
Yeah,
don't want to buy their things or can't imagine why people don't want to pay X amount of dollars for such and such.
it's true. Because
See
it's
any
real close to
any
their chest
correlation?
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
any
yeah.
correlation? See any correlation? I can't believe they wouldn't like. I just my work. I'd never get out of. This is what a conversation we had
Yeah,
recently. Like I wouldn't get out of bed for less than $100. So
yeah,
I
exactly.
can't believe that they
The
would
work speaks
want.
for itself. Customer
Yeah,
doesn't know what they're talking about.
like all
Yeah,
right,
peanuts.
like
Yeah.
okay. Um, I wanna interject as far as this tip, a process that I think somebody should do if they get to that moment.
Hmm.
Because all of us do want to level up in the game of business, right? None of us want to continue the same
Yeah,
level.
no. There's and if you
Right.
say you do, you're kidding yourself. Like, yeah.
Well, if you say you do, then hey man, I wouldn't cross the river right here. You probably crossing the
Watch
river
out
with
for
these other
the
probably go over it, right?
facts.
So it won't be around much longer if you
Hmm.
continue that up. Uh I think there's something that we all must do. I bet you if I asked you, there's something that in your life that you realized as you wanted to progress in business, you needed to change something.
Mm.
I call that change refinement. I learned that term back when I was, the first part of my life because refinement actually you take the word and the way I learned it was about how you become spiritually refined.
Mm.
Right? How that, when you're going to make silver, you keep putting it back into the fire to get the impurities out. Similar that you would put yourself and things that you don't want to do anymore, put them into refinement.
Mm.
I think most of us don't actually think that we need to change something about ourselves.
Yeah.
And therein lies the correlation with that artist. They can't believe people wouldn't want to pay. Oh, yeah. Well, so, Mr. Artist, Mr. Detailer, you know who decides what you're worth? The market, other people. They
Yeah.
decide. You know what? If somebody doesn't like you, doesn't matter how good your work is.
Yeah. They're
Uh,
gone. They're gone. Yeah.
right. You can start going down the rabbit trail. Now, do you have to change yourself to appease other people?
Maybe.
Maybe. Maybe
Yeah.
not. You know,
Maybe
maybe
just a
not.
refinement. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Could just need to, take some things away. So you're thinking about refinement. I think in my life, which is something I've talked about, is something I continually have to work on, is my organization. Here's the key point of what I want to talk about. Inside of that refinement process, it doesn't have to be as hot, right? It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be as hard, it doesn't have to get burned. You don't have to, it has to be. What if you could just use something as simple as a CRM that communicated to your customers for you because you don't communicate so great on your own?
That little refinement could mean the world. You know. Yeah. So simple. It really is that easy though.
It is that easy, right? It
It is.
doesn't have to always be hard. And I think we get to these moments where we go, oh man, because I've talked about, my organization, I've talked about Nick, my partner at anger issues. Like, okay, I got it. Maybe you don't even know that you do something yet. Just changing something inside of your business and refining out a process, maybe.
Mm,
Because in order for you to get to the next level, maybe it doesn't have to do with your customers. Maybe it has to do with the guys that never do it quite like you. Well, I just wish people would work, or well, I just can't find anybody to do it like me, or boy, these guys, they just don't ever. Okay. I get you. I'm with you there, my guy. But maybe, maybe in your teaching them, maybe in your skill set of a detailer doesn't quite translate over to them.
mm,
Maybe there needs to be some type of refinement of your process, or refinement of how you talk to people, or refinement of your communication. Maybe.
yeah.
Overall, I want us all to come out of this moment of just going, hey, I got to realize every time I want to go to the next level, there's a cost.
Hmm.
Always. There always is. Migration, there's a cost.
They pay dearly. Yep.
Every time we want to get to the next level, you got to either pay somebody to do something,
Mm,
or you got to do something more yourself. In order to do something more yourself, you might need to be lighter weight on some other things that you have, right? Can you see
mm,
that correlation here? There's always going to be some type of cost to get to the next level. What do you need to refine?
mm,
Is it you? Is it your process? Is it your offerings? Whatever. There's got to be something that you need to refine, because there's always something that holds you back. And that's the great part about what I end on here is those of you that maybe are going, I do want to, and then, but
mm.
okay,
Yeah.
I get it. Okay. There is a lot of buts because we don't always have the confidence. We don't always realize that there is something holding us back. Many times we get a little depressed because we don't feel good enough. Actually, you just need maybe to refine out some things. Maybe just need a little bit of work here and there, right? As I pressured the system, there was a moment where I went, fuck, hmm?
Mm,
Maybe what? Hold on there, mother. Right? Like, hold
yeah.
on. Really? Did you? Hold on. Let's refine this out a little bit. Let's take a look at what we're doing. I bet you there's some holes in the system. Bet you there's a little hole in your game. Any of you guys have played baseball? There's what we call a slump, right? Where you might be a good hitter, but you just run into the slump and something ain't working. Something ain't swinging right. Okay, let's get back into the batting ball, into the batting cage. Let's refine out our swing. Let's break it down. Let's break it apart, and let's rework it back together.
Yeah.
Refinement can be something very difficult where you're going to go into the fire. You got to work on something serious on your own self. It's not always to that. Depends on what level you're trying to achieve. Sometimes it could be as simple as, hey, Shawn, I'm not doing a great job communicating, and I need to do a better job on this email. How do I get that done? Right?
Yeah.
Aaron's a
Absolutely.
Aaron's a great one for this, right? So I'll end on that. That you've got,
Absolutely.
yeah,
You got resources there,
you've
and
got resources.
the
You've got
refinements
resources.
don't have to be massive, as Marshall was
Mhm.
saying. Doesn't mean you have to throw yourself in the fire, and that's where I'll take over here as well. I think that refinement is a key one in that it's something that you mentioned you did in your process with the launch and after the post launch and stuff. So recently, I had a guy come to our place, and we're changing out one of our AC units. And anyways, we were going over, and it's going to connect to the furnace, but the furnace connects with gas. And so he said the same thing, you know, he said we check for the bubble test, you know, so to make sure that the gas isn't leaking and stuff like that. It's the same thing you have to do in your own business. You got to make sure that the gas isn't leaking out. So you check for areas where you can make some refinements, which brings me to my big thing that we've been doing in our business is we're constantly identifying that thing, that one thing that you may have. And so it's something that separates you from other companies. So for example, let's say pound for pound, all things are equal. So let's say, you know, you have the a warranty, the other company has a warranty. Let's say you have the same, you know, follow-up process, they have the same follow-up process, same reminders go out, so on and so forth. If everything is kind of equal, it's difficult for customers to make that, you know, purchasing decision of how do I move forward with you instead of them or vice versa. And so they're looking for that thing. And sometimes that thing comes by looking internally at your business and looking for those refinements, or it comes from, you know, digging deep and looking inside yourself and finding those refinements. But also it can come from, you know, just pure happenstance as well. And so I'll give you examples of both and then, you know, lead into some tips on how you can implement this in your business as well. So there's a band that most of you, I hope, would be familiar with, called The Who, and they were really great in the end. Everybody, you know, became familiar with them, but in the beginning, when they weren't very popular and they were looking for something that would separate them apart because they had good music, it was okay, but everybody else had good music at the same time as well. So they had to have some way to refine themselves as a band that would make themselves different. And they tried doing that through different songs and things like that. But luckily, it just kind of happened by accident, by happenstance. And so what happened was they were playing at this new venue, and the ceiling height was a little bit shorter than the previous places that they had played at. And Pete Townsend, he was doing some dramatic guitar move. You know, he was really getting into it, and he was doing something crazy with his guitar. Anyway, his guitar goes up and hits the ceiling and causes a big hole in the ceiling and damages part of his guitar. Well, there were some girls that were there and they were watching them perform, and they started snickering and they were laughing, and you know, he obviously wasn't feeling too great about this at the time. And so quick thinking, he just turned and smashed his guitar. And then he pretended as if he was meaning to smash it the whole time, and he smashed it to bits. And so they were like, "Oh my God," and everyone was quiet. It was silent at first, and then they started cheering, and the laughter turned into cheering. So anyway, it was a way for initially for him to just save embarrassment, but then they realized, oh, it got a pretty good reaction from this crowd. So the next couple sets that they had, other performances, Keith Moon had kicked over his drum set during one of the performances, and anyway, they kept this kind of theme going, and soon enough, you know, fans started talking about it and stuff like that, and people actually started coming to the concerts because press was writing about how, you know, there's this band, they go and they, after their show, they smash their instruments, and it became something that was just a really huge drawing card to bring people in. But yet it was something that started by accident, and it became their thing. So while that was an accidental refinement, it was something that happened within, you know, the music business that they had, that was able to, you know, draw huge crowds with word of mouth. Now that's accidental. It's hard to create an accident that's going to be, you know, super beneficial for your business. So that's where we can, you know, deep dive into looking at other ways that you can create little refinements in your business that can help specifically with spreading word of mouth. And that's what I want to talk about today, because word of mouth is hugely important for your business. It's one of the most reliable ways that you can build loyal repeat customers. And studies even show that more customers will trust the word of a stranger when it's word of mouth versus, you know, even if they see an ad for a company that they may or may not have been familiar with or something like that. If they hear word of mouth from another customer, even if it's a complete stranger, there's something like 67% more likely to purchase, even if it's a stranger, which is pretty crazy. So anyway, so some purposeful ones. So there's a moving company, for example, that they schedule you in for your move, but then several days before your move is to take place, they send you complimentary boxes, moving boxes. And it's just a free gesture. It's a little bit of an investment for them, but they're buying boxes in such large quantities. The cost really isn't too incredible. But the biggest thing that they found was by doing this, They would send out those moving boxes. The customers were so surprised and taken back by the gesture. They were actually taking to social media, and they would take pictures and they would post it, and they would say, I'm moving with such and such company in a few days, and look what they just sent me. Amazing, da da da, stuff like that. Anyway, it started generating a lot more customers for them as a result. So that was an intentional refinement in their marketing process. They looked at it and they said, okay, we're dumping, thousands of dollars into Google ads, and we're competing, moving terms in Google incredibly high. The popularity of those terms, the ad auction, is quite up there. It's similar, kind of like detailing during the busy season. Competing for keywords can get quite expensive, depending on how you're running your ads. And so looking at other types of refinements within your business can actually generate a lot more business in the long run, even in the short run too, but definitely it can create a lot more word of mouth, especially when you have some creativity behind it. Now, to follow up with that, I'm going to explain. There's another one. It's called Skip's Kitchen in California. Actually, in 2017, I think it was, maybe 2018. They were named the best burger joint in the country, and they're based in California. But anyway, the founder, his name's Skip Wall. So it was, an up and coming burger joint. People love the burgers, people love the food there. But the problem was that Skip was having trouble remembering which person ordered which, burger, which meal, whatever, as they started to get busy. So they were having a lot of problems internally with, the order management of things. And I'm sure as detailers and tinters, everything, we're all familiar with that process, the growing pains of, okay, when it was just a solopreneur, it was just me, it was a lot easier to schedule my jobs. And now I've taken on, 2 or 3 employees, or maybe open a second location. And, I'm pulling my hair out. I'm trying to manage like what job is what car is ready, so on and so forth. That's where obviously a system like OrbisX is really going to help keep you organized. But on top of that, even with certain systems, you may need some refinements within those systems. And so in this case, Skip had a good process for, getting the food out, getting it plated. It was just the delivery. He had to refine that part of the process. Okay, now that the food's made, it's made on time, it's plated. Now where does it go? And so he was having trouble remembering this. And he thought, okay, so I can get some printed number cards like other, restaurants are doing. But then he was just going to be just like every other restaurant, right? So it was a refinement in his process, but it wasn't enough that would also separate him from the other businesses that were out there. So he thought, okay, so maybe I try something different. So he gave it some thought, and Skip went and got a deck of cards. And he said, okay, every order that comes in gets a card from the deck. And that way I write it down on the ticket, 3 of clubs. And then he just has to now look around the tables, find the 3 of clubs. Boom, that's where the meal goes. Perfect. Very simple solution, because he wasn't planning on having more than 52 people at a time. And so he was ready to go. People were coming in and out. And so anyway, that was a great process. The problem was his refinement worked so well, people started talking about the place, and they were like, this place is so cool that you go in there and they give you a card from a deck of cards, you get to choose it. And it was just a fun process. The people started talking about it a lot, and his word of mouth grew so much that there were huge lineups outside, people waiting to get in. It was just massive. And the problem with his success was that people don't like waiting in lines. So his refinement, his initial one in his business, ended up creating so much word of mouth that he had to now face this new challenge that required more refinement. And so he had to keep that process going. So he was giving it some thought, and he's like, geez, how do I deal with these lineups? Because we can't, cook faster. We can't cook in a bigger space. We're limited where we are, and we can only do so much. So we have to find a way to make the people happy while they're waiting. And what he thought of was, okay, what if we give them a reason to enjoy the wait and not be worried so much about the fact that they're waiting, 30 minutes or whatever outside to get inside. So what he did is he went up to these 2 ladies. They had ordered salads or something like that. He went up to them. And anyway, he said, listen, you guys drew the Joker today, so your meal is on the house. They were blown away. And they said, you got to be kidding me. So anyway, they said, thank you very much. They left. They went. They told people. Word started to spread slowly but surely, and he kept this process up. And he kept anyone that pulled the Joker, their meal was on the house. And he kept that running, kept it running. Word spread so much, and people didn't mind waiting in line anymore, because they knew the longer they wait in line, the less cards are going to be in the deck, the greater their chances of getting a Joker. So people started actually even letting people cut in front of them in line and saying, no, 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 you go ahead. I got next, because they knew they might have a chance of getting the Joker and getting their meal free, and plus just being part of the whole process was kind of cool. So he implemented this company wide, and sales grew, people stopped complaining, they didn't mind waiting in line, and they were just flocking in droves, right? And so the thing is, yes, he did have to give away some stuff. So he was giving away on average, I think like 4 orders a day or something like that. And it was only like 2% of his sales overall. But what it generated in return business from the word of mouth marketing and from those little refinements that made the whole process just that much more enjoyable, that much more exciting. It was really beneficial for his business. And this is the kind of thing that you can implement within your business by thinking of things that you could, do for the customer or do for those that are in the waiting room, or things that you could, implement between, online and offline by, doing some contest stuff within OrbisX that ties into the real world with people that are there. There's so many different things that you can do. So tying those two together, it just becomes this harmonious marketing beast that just generates a lot of word of mouth for you. And it's really about finding that thing, kind of like the Who, smashing the instruments. It's finding those instruments that you can smash that are going to create that thing for you that will generate that word of mouth marketing and get people talking, so that even if your business is more or less, on par from a customer's perspective, if they're looking and they're comparing you and maybe one or two other businesses locally that, okay, well, they kind of do the same thing. They both have the same spiel about PPF, or they both say the same things about detailing, or so on and so forth. If they're trying to make a decision of which one of you to choose, from their perspective, you guys might all look the same. And even though you're different and you think, well, I wrote the content for my website myself and I put together my packages myself and they're unique, it's not like anything else out there. To the customer, you may look like just another detail shop. And so finding that thing, that little refinement that's going to make you stand out from everybody else, create an exceptional customer experience, will lead to generating more word of mouth advertising. And fun fact, actually, Skip's Kitchen, since they implemented that, they haven't actually paid for advertising since, which is pretty crazy. And that's to this day. They continue it to this day. But yeah, so find your deck of cards within your business that you can do. And maybe it is a deck of cards, who knows? But find that thing, try different things, and those little refinements can have huge payoffs in the end. So anyway, that's my tip for today. Next week, we will be following up with a quick talk from me about convenience versus inconvenience, and how what you're selling is the convenience by making your life and your business a little more inconvenient for yourself. But that will have the hugest payoff. Anyways, it'll be a good topic to discuss, and got some tips and tricks on what exactly that means and how it can benefit your business. Marshall did have to run today, so I'm going to sign off solo, but see you next Tuesday, and stay safe, enjoy your sales, and find that little refinement that can turn your business into the next level. Cheers.